Hi, this is Lenny Labrizzi, along with Dominique Burrell and Mark Latour. Welcome to the Mostly Good Environmental News Report, where we cover positive local and global environmental issues, milestones, and activities that you may not hear about. Very often the news about the environment is not good. We hear about climate chaos in all of its manifestations, drought, wildfires, floods, species loss. But there are good things happening in the environment we will share with you in this podcast. We hope you enjoy listening. And if any listeners have ideas for stories we should do, please let us know in the comments. For our first good news item, Dominique Burrell will tell us about how the Darien Gap Rainforest is being protected. Dominique, let's hear some good news.
How Panama has pushed out loggers and poachers from the Darien Gap. The Darien Gap is one of the world's most remote and biodiverse rainforests. Low-cost technology and new funding have reduced illegal logging, mining, and wildlife poaching here. There are no roads through Panama's Darien Gap. This vast, impenetrable forest spans the width of the land bridge between South America and Central America, but there is almost no way through it. Thousands have lost their lives trying to cross it on foot. Its size and hostility have shielded it from development for millennia, protecting hundreds of species, from harpy eagles and giant anteaters to jaguars and red-crested tamarin monkeys. But this has also made it very difficult to protect. Looking after nearly 1.5 million acres of beach, mangrove, and rainforest with just 20 rangers in Darien National Park has been impossible. Like tropical forests all over the world, it has been steadily shrinking, with at least 15% lost to logging, mining, and cattle ranching in 2 decades. But in the past 3 years, Panama has mounted a surprising fight back that could offer hope to the rest of the world's forests. In 2022, the government took a hard line on deforestation and modernized its park ranger force. It partnered with an organization called Global Conservation, and deforestation in the park began to fall. Then President Mulino purged the Environment Ministry of corrupt officials and introduced a moratorium on logging to stop companies from exploiting indigenous logging permits. The park ranger force was expanded with dozens of new recruits. The number of patrols has grown from almost 0 in 2022 to 150 in 2025. People admire park rangers now and want to sign up to become rangers. The Global Conservation Group gave the park new trucks, boats, food and fuel, giving rangers the tools and confidence to reach areas they once avoided. The other significant shift has been in the use of technology. With little phone signal in the rainforest, rangers used to spend much of their time incommunicado, chasing ghosts. By the time alerts of axemen reached them, they had already vanished. Rangers have now been given access to cameras, satellites, and cloud systems and are in constant communication with one another, allowing for quicker, more coordinated responses. Previously, sending a park ranger to remote zones meant risking their life. Now, in remote zones, they are safe. Trail cameras automatically detect movements of logging crews, and all officers use Earth Ranger, a cloud-based park management system that allows them to share photos, GPS locations, and incident reports immediately. If a fire is reported inside the park, fire detection satellites can pinpoint its location. So now, fire response teams can be rapidly dispatched. The rangers are now visible and feared, so loggers, miners, and animal poachers are retreating. Most remarkable is that the tech is neither costly nor complex. Earth Ranger real-time fire alerts are free. All rangers need is access to Starlink and smartphones. The results of this program have been staggering. Forest loss inside the national park plummeted to 88% between 2022 and 2025, and logging in the past half year has fallen to nearly zero. Tropical forests across Central America are collapsing, from Nicaragua to Guatemala to Mexico. So if we don't get it right real soon, we'll lose all the rest of the intact rainforests north of the Amazon. But the reclaiming of Darien National Park is helping protect one of the region's largest carbon sinks, as well as the indigenous groups and wildlife species that live there. Panama's turnaround also shows how co-investment, in other words, partnering with governments that also invest in conservation, makes rangers more accountable, brings better results, and quicker results. And now, Lenny will tell us about preserving biodiversity at archaeological sites.
Yes, thank you, Dominique. There is some good news about the biodiversity at archaeological sites. One of the major causes of species loss and declining biodiversity is habitat loss. One type of habitat or landscape that has remained undeveloped is archaeological sites around the world. These sites have remained relatively unchanged for several hundred to several thousand years. In addition to studying the architecture and looking for clues about the people and cultures who have lived at these sites, researchers are starting to look at the biodiversity at these sites. At Untitled in Jordan, researchers have determined that this particular archaeological site has a greater concentration of Levant fan-footed geckos than at a nearby natural area due to its unique habitat. In a comprehensive study of 20 Greek ancient sites, comprising less than 0.1% of Greece's landmass, researchers found 4,403 species, which is around 11% of known biodiversity in Greece. A pre-Incan pyramid in Lima, Peru, has become the habitat that is helping the Lima leaf-toed gecko to survive the loss of habitat in the surrounding coastal desert area it calls home. New species are also being found at some sites, including a snail at the Delphi ruins in Greece, and 2 new species of lizard have been identified in Machu Picchu, Peru. Extensive research on the flora in and around the ruins at Syracuse, Sicily, has found a tremendous biodiversity of both native and non-native species. One plant of interest is oregano, which is found in the wild all over Greece, but only at Syracuse in Sicily, an ancient Greek city. In my travels, I have visited ancient sites in Mexico, Greece, and Sicily. My attention was mostly focused on the architecture and its longevity. But it is also wonderful to learn that while the world around these ancient sites changes, the fact that these sites have remained relatively unaltered has helped preserve species and biodiversity. And that is good news for the environment. Now here is a better news update on an item I did in Mostly Good Environmental News number 3. I reported that congestion pricing in New York City was having an unexpected benefit of making New York City quieter. The tolling program had just started at that point, and now that tolling has been in effect a little over 1 year, there are many other benefits that have been measured. Perhaps the most amazing number is that in 2025, 27 million fewer cars entered the zone in Manhattan than in 2024. All of the other benefits are due to that number. I'll just name one. The amount of PM 2.5 particulates has decreased by 22%, creating cleaner air and positive public health benefits. Now that is even better news for the environment. And now Mark will share some short snippets of good environmental news. Mark?
Sure. First, the recent donation of 230,000 acres from the Tompkins family will help create a national park on Cape Froward in the far south of Chile. The process of park creation will include the indigenous communities of the area, as some of the land is tribal territory. Located southwest of Punta Arenas, the first national park in the area marks progress in the country's goal of protecting 30% of land by 2030. In addition to the donated land, the proposal may reclassify state-owned land in Cape Froward and along Bachelor River. The new protected area would be larger than Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Chile is also exploring the creation of an adjacent marine protected area. Largely unexplored, this rugged region is a refuge for highly endangered species, including the way-mule deer and the critically endangered ruddy-headed goose. The peninsula marks a transitional ecosystem between land and sea, where diverse marine life, including Magellanic penguins, Peale's dolphins, sei whales, and humpback whales, feed off nutrients provided by Antarctic and Atlantic currents, and where the coasts are lined with dense kelp forests. Forest covers nearly half of the new park, which also features 25,000 acres of peatlands, an ecosystem considered critical to carbon storage and climate change mitigation. Efforts to protect the Florida Wildlife Corridor just took an important step forward, thanks to a partnership of the Conservation Fund, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the North Florida Land Trust, and the Putnam County Land and Water Conservancy. The partnership purchased a 1,000-acre property located east of Gainesville, within the Ocala to Osceola Wildlife Corridor. By acquiring land between these national forests, the state and its partners are protecting vital habitat and passage corridors for the Florida black bear, panther, white-tailed deer, opossum, skunk, river otter, tortoise, bobcat, red-cockaded woodpecker, pileated woodpecker, Bachman's sparrow, numerous songbirds, and other wildlife. The group is working to conserve 100 miles of natural and working lands that form a critical link in this wildlife corridor. The 1,000-acre parcel was purchased from Rainier, a timber and real estate investment trust, to save the land from development. The property is now in public ownership through the state's land conservation program, Florida Forever. Florida Forever has protected over 300,000 acres of woodlands, watersheds, farmlands, wildlife habitats, pine forests, and cypress swamps in the past 5 years through conservation easements and land acquisitions, including the headwaters of the Suwannee River. And Rainier has sold thousands of acres of conservation lands to the state in recent years, including Pinhook Swamp, which is now one of the largest protected areas east of the Mississippi. Next, Andean condor chicks have hatched in an incubator program near Bogota, Colombia. The facility is run by a conservation group that has worked to counter the bird's population decline. Globally, the Andean condor is classified as vulnerable to extinction, with only 6,700 mature individuals remaining, mostly in Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. The chicks that hatched may be the salvation of the species. They will be released this year near the high-altitude town of Cerrito, where half of the nation's condor population survives today. Wildlife caretakers place each egg collected from captive condor nests in an oven-like incubator to provide warmth and safety. Once a chick hatches, caretakers avoid all direct contact during early care to improve chances of survival in the wild. Staff use condor-shaped puppets during feeding, and chicks are kept with other condors to ensure the birds remain wary of people, a trait considered essential for survival after their release. Condors were once treated as pests, as many ranchers believed the birds preyed on lambs, and some ranchers would leave poisoned carcasses to kill them. But conservationists began working with the community to reduce conflict and raise awareness about the condor's ecological role. Camera traps also show that livestock losses were largely caused by foxes, ocelots, and in some cases, their own sheepdogs rather than condors. Cerrito has now become a destination for condor watching and ecotourism. The shift created a new source of income for local families and helped sustain the conservation efforts. And finally, for many years, Europeans have enjoyed what Americans can't have. Balcony solar has taken off there, while American homes and apartments have been left in the dark. That may be changing. California recently introduced legislation that would legalize installing cheap, do-it-yourself solar systems to protect against blackouts and help with affordability. It's not the only state either. 24 states are weighing these plug-in solar systems. As electricity prices rise and rooftop solar subsidies vanish, some U.S. renters and homeowners are quietly installing solar panels on balconies and in backyards without their utilities' permission. Legislation recently introduced in numerous states would legalize plug-in solar systems, jump-starting the market for this affordable renewable energy. Such systems usually comprise small solar panels that are plugged into wall outlets. They cost under $2,000 and generate enough electricity to power a refrigerator, electronics, and lights, shaving hundreds of dollars or more every year from utility bills. Some systems come with batteries to store power for use during peak demand, when electricity rates spike and when storms or heat waves knock out the grid. Millions of balcony solar systems have been deployed in countries like Germany, but very few have been installed in the U.S. Plug-in solar has remained in the shadows due to a lack of safety standards and often costly requirements imposed by utilities, but that's changing. Utah has enacted a law allowing plug-in solar without utility approval, and other states are considering similar legislation, including New York and California, the nation's largest solar market. The impact of California passing legislation would be huge and will get manufacturers to come into the market and lower solar panel prices. Utah's legislature unanimously approved the plug-in solar bill in 2025, but the bill in California may face opposition from some landlords and utilities. Utilities have expressed concern about plug-in solar's impact on the ability to balance the grid if the systems feed excess electricity to the network without their knowledge. And landlords may worry about solar panels falling off balconies or aesthetics. Nevertheless, the prospects for balcony solar and backyard solar are getting a lot sunnier.
Thanks for those good news reports, Mark. And thank you for listening to the Mostly Good Environmental News Report. We hope you enjoyed hearing some good news. If you like what you heard, please share with your friends and listen to more episodes of the Mostly Good Environmental News Report, wherever you listen to podcasts. We can now be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Podcasts. A special thank you to Fred Duca for the original music compositions we are using in this podcast. Here is a little bit of that music. Bye for now.